Hello. It's a little bit later than usual, I'm aware, but it's Saturday, so you guys and girls out there should understand by now that Saturday's the day I work, and then hopefully I do something after work, and by doing something after work, it lately has meant I get to go out to dinner with my mom, which we went to Logan's tonight. It was awesome. It doesn't always happen that way, but it's really nice when it does, so that's really cool. Plus, I get to eat steak that way, and that's awesome because I only seem to eat chicken and pizza otherwise. I'm a picky eater, that's just how it works. So, I do want to make mention real quick that I got some pop news coming up. Actually, on tomorrow, we are going to be getting the second installment of AJ's new segment, Versus. I will not tell you what this battle is going to be between. I'll let you guys and girls out there find out on tomorrow morning when I put the video up. But I will say right now, I'm not going to give away what the answer is. And I'm not going to hint at it. But I will say that next week's battle is going to be quite epic. I will say that next week's battle is going to be very, very interesting. This one from tomorrow is going to be awesome. And was a little bit more of a battle than the last one was. This time, it's going to be a little bit more even. The odds are kind of even between these two movies. So I will talk about those tomorrow. And Monday, of course, tentatively speaking, Ben and Will be over to hopefully film some more for the channel. Ben has some more videos. Actually, I've got 2 Ben videos in the can right now, and they will be up sometime later this week. He's got a review of the band Ghost, which they are a Swedish power metal doom band, and they're going to, that review is going to be up on Pop later on this week. And he's also going to be talking about Skate 4, a speculation video about Skate 4, and him and Will are actually going to be doing a combined video about Are You Afraid of the Dark? So that's going to be really entertaining. Apparently, they're all available on Amazon Prime now. So if you have Amazon Prime, go check it out, especially if you're a fan of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Excellent series, kind of like Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt for children. Got an Outer Limits vibe to it as well. I really liked Are You Afraid of the Dark growing up, and the episodes still really hit home. Not in the personal way, but they are very intense, very entertaining, sometimes funny, and very strange. So they're all really awesome. So the review of Are You Afraid of the Dark coming to Pop very soon. Will tutorial coming up later this week. Molly's on vacation right now, so her videos will be coming out as soon as she returns. So in a couple weeks, you'll see Molly's first video here on Pop. So we will be filming some more Will and Ben stuff later this week. Mr. Flashback is supposed to return this week with Santa with Muscles, and Flashback also has something else in mind he wants to rip apart. So I won't tell you what that is either, but we'll find out sooner rather than later. I mean, I know, obviously I know, but I mean, still. You all will find out very soon. So, I get home from work tonight. My belly is full from the awesome steak dinner I had. I love me some filet mignon, sir. It is quite spectacular. And I come home and sure enough, I get here and the NXT that I watched, and then I watched Smackdown just a few minutes ago. So all of this was just so I could review it for this channel tonight. So let's talk NXT. So, this was very interesting. I watched this on Daily Motion. I'll admit that. I watch this on Daily Motion. And this copy, for some reason, number one, it starts out in French. Like all the subtitles are started out in French. Kind of like how the Sky Sports works for pay-per-views. But there was no commentary. Oh, okay. I'll take that back. There was commentary kind of like how the artist has dialogue. A couple of spots of dialogue is all you hear in the artist, and a couple of spots of commentary is all you hear on this week's episode of NXT. So, let's talk about this week's episode of NXT, shall we? Well, we saw Bo Dallas win the NXT Heavyweight Championship from Big E Langston. And Bo actually cut a promo midway in the show and said he's sorry he couldn't be there. He's sorry he couldn't be at Full Sail, but he did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he went to Disney World. And there is a picture of Bo Dallas with the NXT Championship over his shoulder, standing next to the partner statue. That makes me laugh. I can imagine cast members looking at him and was like, why does he have a championship belt? What does this NXT mean? It's quite funny. So we get our first match of the evening. This was actually really good. The man that gravity forgot, Adrian Neville, taking on the leader of the Wyatt family himself, Bray Wyatt. So we get midway through the match, and Neville gets tossed over the top rope, but he lands on the ring apron, and he hits a high-angle kick right to the side of the head of Bray Wyatt, knocks him to the canvas, so he goes up top for the Red Arrow, but Luke Harper shoves him off the top and right in front of the referee, so a call for disqualification. So the Wyatt family, all three-way attack on Adrian Neville. They put the boots to him. So Corey Graves and Cassius Ohno come out, and they basically make the save. They all brawl, and Harper gets whipped into the steps, Rowan gets whipped into the steel post, and the Wyatt family goes to leave, but they run into the general manager of NXT, Dusty Rhodes. And Dusty says, you know what, you guys want to fight? Alright, how about we do this my way? In the main event tonight, you're going to get a 6-man tag. The Wyatt family taking on Cassius Ohno, Corey Graves, and Adrian Neville. And that is our main event tonight on NXT. So, next match we get I get to see somebody I've never seen before, and that's Angelo Dawkins. And he takes on the on-fire Sami Zayn. So this match actually was pretty good. I mean, it's a very short match, but pretty good for what it was. Zayn gets slammed to the canvas, and Dawkins ends up hitting a forearm and a snapmare in a reverse chinlock. So Zayn punches out of it and hits a knee lift and a forearm whip into the ropes, tip up and over, and a nice high leg lariat from Sami Zayn. Locks in the wrist lock and double springboard into the Tornado DDT and gets the pin. So after the match, he basically says that he's after Antonio Cesaro. And actually, he cuts a promo later on in the show, says, I like to have fun, but you know what? That match out there, that was a message. That was a message to one man, and that's Antonio Cesaro. It's like, we're 1 for 1 right now. And you know what comes next? The rubber match, round 3. It's your move, Antonio. So that was really awesome, actually, and I definitely am totally down with seeing Sami Zayn and Antonio Cesaro hook it up again in NXT sooner rather than later. So we get our next match, and it is a tournament match in the NXT Women's Championship Tournament as Summer Rae taking on Sasha Banks. Of course, we've seen Paige. She has advanced so far. She won over Tamina Snuka. Last week, we saw Alicia Fox pull the win over Bayley. And this winner will go on to face the winner of the Oksana-Emma battle that's going to happen next week on NXT. So, basically, Summer Rae hits a hair mare out of the corner and brings Sasha out of the corner for 2, like brings her back in the hard way, drops her back first on the canvas. So she drives her face hard into the canvas, but only gets a 2 count. She's mocking Sasha Banks the whole match, basically. So, at this point, she chokes her with her feet in the corner. Obviously, the foot choke works really well, given the fact that Summer has those long legs. So, obviously, she uses that to her advantage, which makes total sense. So, it goes for a roll-up, it gets countered, and a spike DDT, basically kind of like a fisherman's DDT, and they roll around the mat, kind of like using the Gracie Guard, a lot of MMA-style fighting, wrist drag, and gets a 1 count out of it. There's a boot, and Summer puts her away with a version of the Big Show's Showstopper, which basically is a reverse DDT, and drops the leg over into an inverted bulldog and gets the pinfall. So Summer Rae will face the winner of next week's Emma Oksana battle. Excuse me. And I will say right now that I already know who's going to become the NXT Women's Champion, and I'll say right now, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I was wrong about the tournament final. It's not between who you think it was. And if you guys and girls out there already know, then obviously we will get to that when we get to it. So we see Xavier Woods. And when he was in TNA, when he was Consequences Creed in TNA, Austin Creed, depending on how you look at it, he wore the Apollo Creed gear. He wore the red, white, and blue. He came out to a knockoff version of Living in America. And it's funny because he's coming out now, and he's kind of stuck in the 90s, is basically the gimmick we're looking at right now. And it's funny because at one point his watch goes off, like a watch alarm, and it's the... I felt like Will was in the room because it was the Power Rangers theme, basically summoning Zordon, saying it's morphin' time. So he says, oh my god. This actually was quite a funny line. I'll paraphrase here. Xavier Woods ends the promo by saying, "The roof may not be my son, but I'm gonna raise it." Oh, my dad. So, Xavier Woods is going to face off against Vader's son. That's right, Jake Carter. So, Satellite Head Scissors take over, and nice arm drag into an arm bar on Jake Carter. Nice back elbow, breaks the hammerlock that Xavier Woods has on. So, Carter hits the perfect somersault neck snap, but only gets a 1 count of it. So, Carter goes to the middle rope, and he dives off. He gets caught with a gut shot to the midsection. Flying forearm off the ropes, a front drop kick, and this is awesome, by the way. So he rolls forward, he does a front kip up into a clothesline, apparently that's called the eye roll, yells it's morphin' time, and that's how he pretty much finishes him off. He nails the Eat Defeat, or the Kurt Cobain, or I guess it's called Lost in the Woods, which is basically, if you haven't seen it before, grabs the wrist and puts the foot into the side of the face and then drives the foot into the side of the face, and that's the finish right there. So good match, basically, to reintroduce the NXT crowd to Xavier Woods. Of course, Xavier Woods was in NXT back in its infancy, back in the FCW days. And also, he had a lot of victories over El Local, which is Ricardo Rodriguez under a mask. So, that's pretty good. Well, we also see Sylvester Lafort, and he is with Garrett Dillon and Scott Dawson, and they are pretty peeved that they are not the #1 contenders for the NXT Tag Team Championships, currently held by Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, the Wyatt family. Well, Dusty Rhodes shows up again and says, you know what? I understand how you feel that you deserve to be #1 contenders. Well, how about next week, this coming week on NXT, you face off against Cassius Ohno and Corey Graves, and the winner will face Harper and Rowan for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Interesting. So, next week on NXT, B. Langston returns, and we'll hear from him for the first time since losing the NXT Championship to Bo Dallas. You're going to see the #1 contendership for the NXT Tag Team titles on the line, as Scott Dawson and Garrett Dillon will go one-on-one, well, actually, in a tag team encounter against Corey Graves and Cassius Ohno, and the winners will face the Wyatt family for the tag team titles. Plus, we're going to see the final match of the first round of the NXT Women's Title Tournament as Emma takes on Oksana. So, a lot of really awesome stuff coming on NXT next week, so check that out. Main event time. So, it was a 6-man tag. It was the Wyatt family taking on Corey Graves, Cassius Ohno, and Adrian Neville. So, Graves gets hit with a back elbow from Luke Harper, and he goes for a lateral press, gets a 2 count, tagging to Bray Wyatt. Wyatt with a headbutt, and he again hits it, and then over and over again, just driving the head into Corey Graves. So, he hits a seated senton, or the earthquake splash, or leaping seated avalanche, and there's no pinfall attempt, but he's just basically doing it to try to hurt Corey Graves. So he elbows out of the chinlock, and he goes for that seated avalanche, but he finds nothing but the canvas, tagging to Ohno, tagging to Eric Rowan, and a hooking clothesline on Rowan, and reverses the whip, and he gets knocked over the turnbuckle, sprawling to the arena floor. That's Cassius Ohno. So Harper sends him into the apron, and then he throws him back in and chokes him. Tag back into Bray Wyatt, and he steps on the chest. So Ohno with the overhand chop numerous times, sends him into the corner, tagging to Harper, European uppercut, and 3 elbows for a 2 count. 3 big, like huge elbow drops, but it only gets a 2 count out of it. So shoulder into the corner, and a short whip into Rowan's knee strike. Knocks Graves off the apron, so of course he can't make the tag. So a pump handle backbreaker from Rowan for a 2 count. Tag back into Luke Harper, and it's funny, they both collide. Ono does the put on the brakes move like he normally does before he comes off with like the diving forearm in the corner, but he connects with the back of the head. His back of the head connects with the front of the head of Luke Harper, and both men are down. So he goes to the legs, tags in Adrian Neville, so he gets a nice leg lariat on Bray Wyatt, and the standing shooting star press gets a 2 count out of it, so he runs off the ropes to go for the dive on Bray Wyatt, but he gets stopped by Eric Rowan, and Cassius Ohno comes in, evens the playing field by dropkicking Rowan to the floor, and pretty much at this point, Ohno locks in a cravat. Actually, no, I'll go with that. I'll start with this. Ohno with a slide drop kick, and there's the cravat on Eric Rowan. So he's held long enough, so Adrian Neville leaps over the top rope with a 180 moonsault and knocks both Rowan and Harper down. So the tag team champions are sprawled on the ground. High angle kick to Bray Wyatt. He goes up top for the red arrow. He misses when Harper pulls Bray Wyatt out of the way right before the corkscrew shooting star connects. And Bray steals the win for the 1-2-3. Alright, what we learned, boys and girls? Well, Adrian Neville and Bray Wyatt had a really good match. And Dusty Rhodes, like Teddy Long on SmackDown, really likes tag matches, so that happens. Because obviously, this 2 times he interjected himself into the show tonight, you had him interject himself to make it a 6-man for the main, and to make a tag team match for the number 1 contenders to the Wyatt family later on in the show. Sami Zayn is on a collision course with Antonio Cesaro, and yes please, as soon as possible. Summer Rae gets a victory over Sasha Banks, and she goes on to meet the winner of the Emma-Oksana battle to determine who's going to be facing the winner of the Paige-Alicia Fox match to determine who is going to get in the finals of the NXT Women's Championship Tournament. Xavier Woods re-debuts against Jake Carter and has a really awesome match. Very, very athletic superstar. Basically, we had a really good 6-man tag main event with the Wyatt family stealing the win at the end. Next week, Biggie Langston speaks for the first time since losing the NXT Championship to Bo Dallas. You're also going to see Corey Graves and Cassius Ohno take on... Long day, wow. Scott Dawson and Garrett Dillon for the number 1 contendership to the Wyatt family. And on top of that, you're going to see Emma against Oksana, the final first-round match in the NXT Women's Championship Tournament. So, that was NXT. Wow, that was good. Good show. Good show tonight. Let's talk SmackDown. So, the MVP of the WWE, Daniel Bryan, comes out, and he says, Monday on Raw, something happened that never has before. You know what? In 13 years, my entire career, I've never had a match stop due to injury. The doctor and the WWE officials, they didn't agree with the fact that I could continue. Apparently they stopped it due to health concerns. Realistically speaking, though, they stopped it because Daniel Bryan's the weak link and he's not tough enough. But that's not even the worst part. The worst offender, the worst problem is Randy Orton. Instead of just, trying to keep the match going and fighting the authority to keep the match going. Oh no, he decided he wanted to pick me up, pat me on the head like I was his brother or even some sort of a small dog, and he says, you know what, don't worry Dan, it'll be okay. So, but in his eyes, I saw pity. And tonight, I don't care what anybody thinks, I will beat Randy Orton. So Randy Orton, of course, comes out and he has to retort, and he says, you know what, you got it all wrong. The reason the match was stopped is because everyone, including myself, were concerned about your well-being. The fact that you kept fighting, you know what, it made me respect you even more. You couldn't defend yourself any longer. So when I helped you after the match, you know what, it was out of respect. And Bryan's like, you know what, all I see is out of you, Randy Orton, is pity. You said I'm the weak link on Monday Night on Raw. I'm going to shove respect down your throat. And he's like, you know what, Daniel, you're out of line. You want it that badly? tonight we're going to fight, and when they stop the match this time, I'm going to hurt you. You will be carried out, and you respect that. Interesting. So, first match of the evening, Sheamus taking on Cody Rhodes. Cody gets hit with a snapmare off the top and goes for the clubbering blows. Cody slips outside to the floor to stop the momentum of Sheamus, so he rams his arm hard in the ring post. Sheamus comes back in, he ties his arm up in the ropes, so Sheamus punches out of the corner. Rhodes counters with a single arm DDT, but only gets a 2 count out of it. So, a knee strike for 2. He gets rolled up, but Cody hooks the tights and still only gets a 2 count. Slingshot shoulder, and it's countered into the Fujiwara armbar, and that ends up getting broken somehow. Sheamus ends up hitting the Irish Hammer on 2 separate occasions. A glancing blow on the knee strike. Goes for the Finley roll. Kicks Sandow for good measure, who's at ringside, of course. Tosses Cody into Sandow, and White Noise goes for it. It gets countered, and Sheamus ends up countering that into the Texas Cloverleaf. And after the match is over, Sandow jumps him from behind and starts putting the boots to him. So we have not seen the end of this battle between the Rhodes Scholars and Sheamus. And that sucks. Because these matches don't need to happen anymore. They happen way too many times. I don't want to see this match anymore. I want both men to go on to bigger and better things. I want Sheamus to, put Sandow over. I think that could be a very useful tool right now to put Sandow over and get him to be a little bit ready for challenging for higher gold somewhere down the road. Because Sheamus has already been there, done that, and he'll do it again. But Damien Sandow really hasn't had the chance to shine yet. Cody actually pulled off a really good match with Sheamus tonight, and very kudos to him for that match. But I don't like this feud. The only way I like this feud is if it's basically there to elevate long day, elevate Cody Rhodes, and sadly I don't think that's the case. Get our next match of the evening. It is Wade Barrett's rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. He faces off against Curtis Axel. So Axel gets clotheslined, and Barrett with a huge kick to the ribs. So Axel punches out, and there's a knee and a snap suplex, but he gets a 2 count out of it. So he chokes him on the middle rope. Knee strikes in the ropes from Barrett, and the big boot knocks him through the ropes and sprawls to the arena floor. So Axel gets sent hard in the apron. Barrett tosses him in. Axel with a whip reverse, and he punches out of the perfect plex attempt. Nails a big boot for a 2 count. Goes for the middle rope elbow, but Axel rolls out of the way in the nick of time. Hits the somersault neck snap and the axe to grind for the 1-2-3. So The Miz, who was on commentary during this match, slides under the bottom rope, stares down with Curtis Axel, and look like they're about to fight, but Heyman just drags him away. He's like, my clients don't fight for free. And that's the end of it. So, here we go. We get a non-title matchup. The Divas champion, the gorgeous AJ Lee, taking on Natalya, finally wrestling. It's about time. She's not out there with the oddities 2K13. Oh no, she's actually out there doing what she does best, and that is wrestling. I know it's a foreign concept in the Divas division apparently now, but wrestling. So, AJ with a sleeper hold on the back of Natalya. And she gets backed hard into the corner, and AJ grabs the ropes and front drop kicks Natty from behind for 2. So a sleeper applied again, and we come back to commercial break, and we get a snap suplex, and, whip in, and a kick to the chest. She ducks down and kicked her in the chest. Natty nails the discus clothesline, and AJ kicks out at 2. She puts Natty on her shoulder. Like a the shoulder power slam. And then she spins like an airplane spin, basically trying to disorient her. But it gets countered into the Black Widow, and a Natty taps. So AJ wins clean against Natalya, and decent match for what it was. Not bad. So after this, we see Layla, who is wearing like Daisy Dukes and like really looking like Jessica Simpson in the Dukes of Hazzard movie. She doesn't look like Catherine Bach. She looks like Jessica Simpson in the Dukes of Hazzard movie. So, they're talking. She's talking with Caitlyn. They're chatting it up, and Oksana walks in and laughs at Caitlyn, says, is that the move she beat you with? And she calls her trash. Well, she gets pie-faced and then slammed in the back of the head, and she gets thrown into literal trash. And Cameron, Naomi, and Alicia Fox, along with Layla, have to pull Caitlyn off of Oksana. So, hell have no fury like a woman scorned. So we get another matchup here. Another non-title match. The World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio taking on Y2J Chris Jericho. Jericho hits the springboard drop kick to the outside and knocks ADR into the barricade, does a sliding drop kick, not a baseball slide, but kind of a sliding drop kick, tosses him back in, and he goes for the side kick, the grounded side kick, but basically catches him when Jericho's trying to climb back into the ring. So a kick into the ribs, right against the barricade, tossed back in, gets the 2 count, he goes for the shoulder, he rams it into the ring post, Jericho with 2 shoulder blocks off the ropes, and he goes up top for the crown, and he crowns ADR off the top. He goes for the double leg, goes for the walls of Jericho, and he gets countered by Alberto Del Rio, and he hits the grounded side kick for 2. So Del Rio goes with headbutts, and I think at this point he headbutted Jericho to the fact that he busted his own eyebrow open. But I'm pretty sure that's when it started. This is the first time I noticed that he might be bleeding, because he kind of like wipes his forehead like he knew he busted himself open. He goes for a step-up enziguri in the corner, and Jericho hits the flying body press off the top rope, but Del Rio kicks out at 2.5. So he nails the face buster, goes for the lion salt, and he connects. And we notice Del Rio is busted open. So like I said, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened, that the headbutts, inadvertently Del Rio busted himself open. So this is actually a good finishing sequence. I like this. So he goes for the cross arm breaker, and he gets countered. Jericho goes for a sunset. Jericho gets caught in a sunset. He gets countered into the walls of Jericho, and he gets countered back into the cross arm breaker, gets back countered into the walls of Jericho, and Ricardo gets tossed into the ring because he goes for the distraction, and Jericho locks him in the lion tamer, and at this point, Dolph Ziggler runs out of nowhere, jumps Del Rio, and chases him to the back. So Jericho gets up in Ziggler's face, and the announcement was officially made by Lillian Garcia that Alberto Del Rio wins this match by disqualification, given the fact that Dolph Ziggler did attack Del Rio first. Even though Jericho pulled Ricardo into the ring, Ricardo didn't touch Jericho, so it would have been that disqualification. But because Ricardo did not lay a hand on Jericho, and Dolph laid a hand on Del Rio wins by disqualification. So basically Jericho voices his displeasure to Dolph's face, and pretty much voices his displeasure in a completely different way, laying Ziggler out with a code breaker. So Ricardo grabs Dolph, and he's already kind of glassy-eyed anyway, and holds him and the grounded sidekick from Del Rio and lays him out. So he was medically cleared to compete on Raw Monday night, but I don't know after this if that's going to happen or not. I guess they announced somewhat that they're not exactly sure if it's going to happen or not, so there's always that. So, excuse me. We get Drew McIntyre comes out with Jinder Mahal and Heath Slater, the 3-man band, taking on the returning Christian. Christian makes his return to SmackDown. So it's a baseball slide dropkick on Drew and a drop toe hold into the middle ropes, and he basically jumps over the top rope, and with a nice uppercut from Christian, he goes for a cross body, and he gets caught in a swinging side effect from Drew McIntyre, kind of a layout Uranagi basically is what it was. A spinning back elbow off the middle ropes from Christian, and he ends up getting caught, and Drew pretty much tries to go for the belly to back suplex. He floats over, he turns it into the kill switch. Before he nails the kill switch, he slides under Heath Slater's feet and pulls him off the apron, sends him face first in the apron. Jinder's on the opposite side trying for the distraction, and Christian knocks him off as well. And the kill switch is engaged on Drew McIntyre, 1, 2, 3. So Christian comes back and is like, you know what, it's been great to be back on SmackDown. It's been so long since I've been on this program, and I'm here for one more match. Well, at this point, the Shield's music hits. So the Shield come out, not through the crowd, but actually through the back. They actually come down the ramp, and they surround the ring, they surround Christian, they get in the ring, Christian tries to fight him off for a second. He pretty much just, the numbers game is too much, like it always is, and the Hounds of Justice beat the tar out of Christian, including laying him out with the triple powerbomb. I talked about Christian feuding for the United States Championship against Dean Ambrose. We're starting the feud right here. Christian and Dean Ambrose will happen sooner rather than later. And again, I don't have a problem with that. Excuse me. So Paul Heyman is being talked to by Renee Young. They're having a promo in the back, and Renee's basically asking a bunch of questions like, excuse me, the world wants to know, Paul, why did Brock Lesnar attack CM Punk, and what do you have to do with it? And he basically is like, I don't really want to discuss my personal business on national television. And then, of course, he does a lot of personal things to Renee Young's, like, how long has it been since you've talked to your dad? You haven't talked for 2 years. Your fiance left you in Los Angeles. And how do you like feeling what it feels like to be desecrated in your personal life on national television? And that's exactly how I feel. CM Punk made it completely clear to everyone, including myself, that, we're friends. We're just the best of friends. He's not my client. And that was pretty much the end of it. Heyman didn't want to talk about it, and it's understandable. Get our main event of the evening, Randy Orton taking on Daniel Bryan, and Orton hits a 10-punch, and he nails that stiff European uppercut, and he goes for the Garvin Stomp, but he ends up only stepping on Daniel Bryan's ankle. So Bryan punches out of the corner and goes for a 10-punch variation of his own. He goes for a suplex, it gets blocked, a snap vertical suplex from Randy Orton out of the corner, stomps him right on the forehead, and he goes for that leaping knee drop, and Bryan rolls out of the way. He goes for the stiff kicks and locks on a leg grapevine, trying to get a submission on the Viper. Orton ends up turning it into a chin lock that countered into a side headlock from Orton. So nice little chain wrestling from Randy Orton. It's something you don't see very often. So Bryan hits a shin breaker, grabs the arm, going for the no lock, and Orton punches out of it. He goes for the no lock again on the arm, or are we going to call it the yes lock now? I don't know if he's fully Daniel Bryan babyface, like he was coming out with a yes shirt tonight instead of the no shirt. So maybe we're going back to the yes lock, I guess. We'll find out sooner rather than later. Even though on commentary, JBL and Michael Cole were painting Randy Orton out to be the patron saint of awesome, and basically he could do no wrong, even though Randy Orton kicks people in the head for fun. Randy Orton is not a babyface. Randy Orton does not want to be a babyface. Randy Orton is a piss-poor babyface and does not need to be a babyface. And I know that everyone is trying to make Daniel Bryan into the heel in this feud. That's a stupid, stupid move. The crowd want to cheer for Daniel Bryan, and they're going to. So, I like this push that Bryan is getting. He very much deserves it. So, the no-lock is again countered in a backdrop suplex. So, Orton ends up hanging Bryan out to dry, basically. Front suplex drops him on the top rope. So, he goes for the suplex to the floor. It gets blocked, and Orton neck snaps him against the top rope. Sends Bryan down. So, he goes for the suplex to the floor again. He suplexes him over the top rope to the floor, and Bryan lands face first on the floor. So, we go back into the ring. We get back to commercial break. A standing drop kick from Randy Orton for a 2 count, and he puts him on the top rope. He headbutts him, goes for a superplex. It gets blocked, so Bryan punches and headbutts Orton off the ropes. He nails that missile drop kick, and he kips up, huge drop kick in the corner. He charges in and nails that leaping drop kick on his seated position to Randy Orton. Makes the lateral press, but only gets a 2 count. So he nails the yes kicks. And the whip reverse, backdrop, lands on his feet. He goes for the hooking clothesline, and Orton catches him with a Samoa Joe snap power slam. Bryan kicks out at 2.5, so the European uppercut, and basically he goes for it again. It gets countered into a backslide, and the stiff kicks again, and Bryan lands the buzzsaw kick, and Orton somehow kicks out at 2.5. So Bryan goes up top for the swan dive headbutt, and he gets crotched up top. Orton hits a huge superplex right off the top rope. Again, Bryan kicks out at 2. He goes for the snakebite DDT, and he nails it. Actually, no, he rolls out of the ring and stops it, so he backdrops him on the barricade, just like he did on Raw Monday night. And he goes for the snakebite on the floor. It gets countered. Bryan sends him into the barricade and hits the running knee strike off the ring apron to Orton on the floor. And he goes ready, sets up for the tope, and he dives in, throwing caution to the wind and sending Orton in the barricade. And Orton is down and out. Bryan beats the count, and that's the end of the match. But Bryan doesn't want it to end that way, so he basically says, you know what? I'm not going to take this count-out victory. And he said he would start chanting yes, yes, over and over again, like, yes, yes, we're going to restart the match, yes. And of course, the referee's like, no. He's like, yes, restart the match. And the fans just chant yes at the top of their lungs, and that ends SmackDown. Okay, what we learned, boys and girls, Daniel Bryan is still the MVP of the WWE, and that's the reason I call him that, because he is awesome. Bryan can do no wrong. And even though they're trying to paint Randy Orton out to be the good guy in the situation, he's not. He kicks people in the head for fun. We've noticed how many guys he's taken out, storyline perspective. So, think about it from that direction. You know, you're trying to make Daniel Bryan into the heel. It's not going to work. He could jump Cena in a parking lot. It's not going to work. Daniel Bryan does not need to be the heel. I mean, if Daniel Bryan you want him to be the heel, have him join up with the Wyatt family and have Bray Wyatt be his personal savior. I mean, you could do it that way. But I already mentioned that armchair booking a couple weeks ago, so we're not going to talk about that. So, Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan look for potentially one more match on Raw Monday night, if I had to guess, unless they push it to Money in the Bank. But I don't think they will, because I think Daniel Bryan's going to win Money in the Bank, and he'll cash in against John Cena at SummerSlam. That's what we're looking at right now. That's what we're looking at as the situation. Even though it would be really awesome if he cashed in on Mark Henry when Mark Henry beats Cena like government mule, and that'd be awesome, because I think Mark Henry deserves the WWE Championship before he retires. And I think that's what we're leading towards. So Daniel Bryan should be beating John Cena for the championship, but it looks like he's probably going to beat Mark Henry for it. Again, I don't really have a problem with it. I'm sure Doug from the WNS podcast is going to have a serious problem with the fact that two of his favorites are battling for the championship. But that's good for everyone, because it's not really a problem. It's just going to be awesome to see two amazing superstars battle for the WWE Championship. Sheamus still battling with the Rhodes Scholars. Not really doing much this time. At least there's no more of the Carney games. At least that's all done, at least for the time being. We're leading towards Sheamus and Sandow again somewhere down the road. Hopefully they don't wrestle again on Raw. I don't want to see this feud continue. I really don't. Unless they're using it to build Damian Sandow, and I don't think they are. I really think that they should just stop this right here and now. Sheamus just needs to do something else. And it does not involve being in the world title picture, even though it seems like they're going to push him against Del Rio, and that's probably what we're looking at. Two very stale acts going against each other. Very interesting. Curtis Axel, Long Day, retains the Intercontinental Championship against Wade Barrett, and that was Barrett's official rematch. So Barrett is on the shelf as an Intercontinental challenger for the foreseeable future, and we're building towards Axel and The Miz probably at Money in the Bank. Again, I don't have a problem with this. Fandango is the X Factor. When he comes back, it'll be interesting to see where he fits in all this, because I know he's going to be a part of this. We get AJ Lee against Natalya, and that was really a really good back and forth match. Really nice seeing Natalya actually wrestling for a change, and something that doesn't have to do with a dark match or a house show or Superstars or the main event. That's all well and good, but it's really nice to see Natty actually wrestle on television for a change, because it doesn't happen very often. So, it was pretty good for what it was. Caitlyn jumps Oksana because Oksana makes fun of her, and you don't make fun of Caitlyn at this point, so she gets laid out literally in a pile of garbage. Del Rio and Jericho had a great match, great back and forth contest, but of course it was marred by Dolph Ziggler's interference, and that was awesome because Ziggler got his fight, took the fight to Del Rio, and pretty much can't say got his win back. He basically got some revenge on Del Rio for what happened, and the fact that Del Rio is the new World Heavyweight Champion because he took advantage of a lot of opportunities at Payback and took the championship off Dolph. We're building towards Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler. I would say at Money in the Bank again. If I had to guess, some sort of a stipulation match. Maybe a ladder match. That's a good idea, even because Swagger's not in the match, obviously. It can be a ladder match. So Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler in a ladder match. Then again, after Dolph is just coming off a legitimate concussion, I don't think they would go with that stipulation. At least maybe not, but it's WWE. It could go either way. So, of course, Jericho lets Dolph have it with the Codebreaker, and then, of course, Dolph gets laid out with a GSK, and that's the end of it. Right there, where they still are battling it out. Yeah, I'm going to call the Grounded Sidekick the GSK from now on. So, Drew McIntyre and Christian, pretty good match, actually. They could have gotten a lot more time. Christian and McIntyre actually have some good chemistry together, and they could really go in the ring against each other, and they did. It was a decent match for what it was. Three-man band tried to interfere, and they pretty much got toppled. Christian makes the announcement he wants one more match. Here comes the Shield. Building towards Christian and Dean Ambrose for the U.S. Championship. Again, I called it a long time ago. So, I can't really say a long time ago, I guess you could say. When Christian came back, I called him and Ambrose for the U.S. Championship. So, there's always that. Daniel Bryan beats Randy Orton via countout, which means we're going to have a match on Raw. That's going to be no countouts, no disqualifications. There must be a winner, and that's going to be the stipulation. And Daniel Bryan is going to pin Randy Orton or make him submit. I say he probably makes Orton submit. But I don't know. It could go either way. So, he could pin Orton. I don't know. Orton doesn't submit very often, but I think this might actually be the case that he does. Or he could win with a flat swan dive headbutt, or anything really Bryan could beat Orton with. I don't have a problem with that. So that's pretty much NXT and SmackDown for this week. After Raw, NXT and SmackDown, well, NXT was pretty good. Had a lot of good wrestling. It was wrestling heavy, not promo heavy. It was wrestling heavy. And SmackDown this week, it was alright. I mean, a lot of short matches. A good back and forth, a Del Rio Jericho encounter, Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton going at it yet again. I mean, Randy Orton is stale as week-old bread right now, but the matches against Bryan have been solid. They really have. And you're having Orton play the bully in this match, even though Daniel Bryan, of course, is really set on the fact that he's not the weak link, and he's going to prove it by any means necessary, and if that means go through Randy Orton, that's exactly what he's going to do. So that's the direction we have to go through right now. Daniel Bryan's still the MVP of the WWE, and that's pretty much the end of that. So, wrestling-wise, we'll talk Raw on Monday night. We will talk TNA on Thursday night. We'll do Impact on Thursday night. And, of course, next Saturday, we'll bring you another installment of NXT and SmackDown. And, Money in the Bank is coming very soon. So we've got that to look forward to. Destination X is coming very soon. We've got that to look forward to as well. It's going to be on Spike TV. It's not going to be a pay-per-view this time around. It's going to be a one-off live event on Spike TV. So that's going to be really awesome. So once again, as always, if you like these videos, tell your friends. Thumbs them up. Do leave a comment. Do subscribe. Tell your friends to do the same. Share these videos on your social media. You can tweet me at @SirOwenDisney. You can send me an email if you want to become part of the Popcaster Revolution to SirOwenDisney@gmail.com. And spread the word if you like these videos. And I'm going to keep doing them. And hope you guys and girls out there seem to enjoy them because they get a lot of hits. So I noticed that. And thank you guys and girls out there for watching. And I'm going to go ahead and get off here. Tomorrow we've got Versus. And that's going to be that. So until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I got to say about that.